We both maxed out 2 investment accounts at the very beginning of the year, and we want to talk about it. Okay, so let's back up for a second. Dennis and I have both been very intentional about our money journey ever since we graduated from university about 8 years ago. We talked about investing pretty much right away, and after spending a few years getting started, learning a lot about the stock market and how it works, and also on paying off student loan debt on Dennis's end specifically, we started to really gain some momentum over the past 2 to 3 years or so. Also, I should mention that on top of getting started, learning a lot, and also paying off Dennis's student loans, we were also really focused on the career and income side of things. We both graduated and got 9-to-5 corporate jobs, and then we were really focused on getting promotions and increasing our salary within those corporate jobs until we ended up quitting those jobs and instead started working for ourselves. And when we first started working for ourselves, we weren't making as much money as we had been back in our 9-to-5 jobs. Anyways, about 2 to 3 years ago is when our level of investing knowledge and our monthly salaries were both now at a solid level that allowed us to start really gaining some momentum when it came to our investment portfolios. For some more context, back in March 2024, I had $100,000 across my different saving and investment accounts. And Dennis had about $67,000 across his saving and investment accounts. Now, in March 2026, I have about $260,000 across my saving and investing accounts, and Dennis has just under $200,000 across his saving and investment accounts. So clearly the last couple of years has been when we've experienced the most growth inside of our investment portfolios, which has been really exciting. And that growth has come both from the money that we've actually contributed ourselves and from the value of our investments growing over time. But today, in this video, we're going to be specifically focused on the money that we've directly put into our portfolios ourselves. Now, with all of that being said, we've also been able to start maxing out some of our registered or tax-advantaged investment accounts.
Registered investment accounts are accounts that were created by the government that have tax advantages. These accounts were made to encourage people to save for different specific goals. Because these registered accounts have tax advantages, they also have contribution limits. Basically, this is the maximum amount of money that you can add into these accounts. Of course, they don't want all of your money to come with tax advantages. Their goal is to encourage people to save for things like retirement, education, and home ownership. But they still gotta make some money in taxes. Anyways, the first investment account that Steph and I focused on maxing out, so hitting our maximum contribution limit, was the TFSA, or tax-free savings account. Now, the TFSA is an amazing account because the tax advantage that you get is tax-free growth of your money. That means that you never have to pay taxes on the growth of your money inside of this account. Here's how the contribution room works for the TFSA. So the government adds a certain amount of room to your TFSA each year, and that room starts to build as soon as you turn 18. Or once you become a Canadian resident, and you can check out this video for all of the specific rules. To find out what your TFSA contribution limit is, you can actually use a TFSA contribution room calculator. You just plug in your birth year and it'll tell you how much room you've built up based on your age and how much room that the government has added each and every single year. You can also log into your CRA My account to see how your contribution room is changing based on the amounts that you've been adding to it each year. But overall, it's up to you to keep track of this limit and how much room you have left. Anyway, since your contribution room grows every year, it actually took Steph and I a while to catch up to our overall lifetime contribution limits. Steph actually maxed hers out for the first time when she was 27 years old. So she opened up her TFSA when she was 21 years old and then finally caught up and maxed it out at 27. Now, I maxed mine out for the first time when I was 29 years old. So I actually started contributing consistently to my TFSA when I was 25. So shortly after I finished paying off my student loan debt, and then I finally caught up to my maximum contribution limit at 29. By the way, at the time that I maxed out my TFSA, I had a total contribution limit of $75,000. So that means that I had put $75,000 into my TFSA as of October 2024. Since then, my contribution room has actually grown by an additional $14,000. So that's $7,000 for both 2025 and 2026. And at this point, my room has actually grown to $89,000. On Steph's side, when she maxed out her TFSA, she had a total contribution limit of $69,500. Since then, her contribution room has also grown by an additional $14,000. So now her contribution room, her max contribution room, is $83,500.
Like Dennis just said, we both maxed out our TFSAs for the very first time in 2024. So that means that in 2025, that was the first time that I personally re-maxed out my TFSA at the very beginning of the year. That means that right away in January, when I gained my new annual contribution room, which happened to be $7,000 that year, I put $7,000 into my TFSA and re-maxed it out. And I was able to do that again this year too, and so was Dennis. So from now on, that's our goal for every single year. We ideally want to be able to re-max out our TFSAs right away at the very beginning of the year. Now, it works for us personally to do that because we pay ourselves out an end of year bonus. So we're able to make a lump sum contribution with that bonus to our accounts. And by the way, in case you're new or haven't heard us talk about it before, we're self-employed. So we pay ourselves out a consistent monthly salary, but also an annual end of year bonus on top of that. Anyways, that's our TFSA breakdown. And we think it's really important to continue to talk about our TFSAs and how important they are in our overall investing ecosystem, because unfortunately, not enough Canadians use them. Right now, as of 2026, there's about 40.5 million people in Canada. Of that, about 33 million or so are 18 years old or older. Now, of that, only about 18 million people have opened up a TFSA before, and only 10% of all people who've opened up a TFSA have actually maxed out their contributions. But the TFSA is an amazing long-term investing account that we purposely use to invest for retirement, so for the long term, many decades from now. And the main reason for that is because your money inside of the account grows completely tax-free. So hopefully more Canadians will start using their TFSAs, opening them up, and specifically using them to invest for the long term. After we maxed out our TFSAs, we moved on to the first home savings account, or our FHSAs. The FHSA is similar to the TFSA, except for it's meant for saving or investing for the purchase of your first home. Now, this account also has great tax benefits. It provides a tax-free growth of your money, just like the TFSA does, but you can also use your FHSA contributions to reduce your taxable income. Now, again, because those tax benefits are so great, there's a contribution limit associated with the FHSA too, but it works a little bit differently. The FHSA's total lifetime contribution limit is $40,000 for everyone. But your contribution room doesn't start growing and accumulating until you actually open up an FHSA account yourself. Once you do, you gain $8,000 per calendar year from the year that you first open one up. Now, the FHSA was first introduced in 2023, so if you opened up your account in 2023, then your max contribution limit would currently be $32,000. Now, Dennis and I didn't actually open up an FHSA until 2024, after we first maxed out our TFSA accounts, so our personal max contribution limits are $24,000 each. Now, maxing out our FHSAs was a much quicker process for us than maxing out our TFSAs, mostly because at this point on our investing journey, we've really been able to increase our monthly contributions. Now, we actually invest $2,000 a month each, and we've been able to do that for the past few years now. We've specifically been paying ourselves out $4,459 per month each, and of that, we've allocated $2,000 each towards our investments. So since the annual FHSA contribution limit is $8,000, it only took us 4 months to max it out for the first time.
Steph was specifically able to max out her FHSA for the first time in 2024, the same year that she maxed out her TFSA for the first time. And then she was also able to remax it out at the very beginning of January of 2025. I say also because that was the year that she made a lump sum to her TFSA in order to max it out at the very beginning of the year for the first time. And she did the same thing with her FHSA. Then she did it again this year in 2026. Now in January, not only did she use her end of year bonus in order to make a lump sum contribution to her TFSA of $7,000, but she also used it in order to make a lump sum contribution of $8,000 into her FHSA. Now on my end, I maxed out my FHSA for the first time in 2025. Now because I maxed out my TFSA in October of 2024, I only had 2 months left to contribute to my FHSA before a new room was added to both accounts in the new year. So this year in 2026, that was my first opportunity to max out my FHSA pretty much at the beginning of the year. In January of 2026, I used my end of year bonus to make a lump sum contribution of $7,000 into my TFSA and then $6,000 into my FHSA. I needed that extra $2,000 to fill up my emergency fund after I needed to use it again last year. But on February 1st, 2026, I was able to contribute that final $2,000 and remax out my FHSA for the year. That means that this year, 2026, was the first time that both Steph and I were able to remax out both of our accounts, so our TFSA and our FHSAs, pretty much at the beginning of the year. And this is really exciting for us. It was a huge goal of ours in our 20s to focus on investing as much as we possibly could in the stock market. And maxing out these different investment accounts have kind of been markers along the way that we've used to track our progress and also motivate us. Knowing that we've contributed everything that we possibly can, literally because of the contribution limits, to 2 different tax-free investment accounts really feels great. And we didn't just contribute money into these accounts, we also invested that money, so it'll continue to grow grow for years to come. To us, it's not really about hitting these goals at a certain age or on a certain timeline. It's more about being excited to be in maintenance mode with these accounts and creating sustainable investing systems for ourselves on a consistent yearly basis. Our ideal goal would be to keep being able to remax out these accounts at the beginning of the year, each and every single year. And then spend the rest of the year focused on investing in our RSPs and a taxable account. So that's a taxable account once our RSPs are maxed out or remaxed out.
So that's where we're at today. We have fully maxed out TFSAs and FHSAs again, and now we're currently working on our RSPs. The RSP, or the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, is the last registered investing account that we can both currently use for long-term investing. I maxed mine out for the very first time last year, so in 2026, I'm working on remaxing out my account, and I have just over $12,000 of new contribution room added to it to work on this year. By the way, the RSP contribution room works a little bit differently. It's based on a percentage of your personal earned income for the previous year. So it's going to take me from March till August to remax it out, and then from August to December, I'll focus on investing inside of my taxable investing account, which I actually ended up opening up for the first time last year. By the way, a video all about my taxable investing account, how I'm tracking my adjusted cost basis, everything to do with taxable investing is coming out very soon within the next few weeks, so make sure you keep an eye out for that one. Now on Dennis's end, he still has about $40,000 worth of contribution room inside of his RSP, so he's going to be focusing all his contributions throughout the year towards this account to try and get it maxed out, or at least as close as possible to max out by the end of the year. Now hitting that goal will be really exciting because it'll mean that we'll both have all of our tax advantaged registered investment accounts fully maxed out. Now, we've mentioned before that we've really been viewing our net worth and our investing totals more collectively as like a collective household now that we're engaged. So I guess you could call that our next household goal for the year. Now, in general, we really hope that sharing all of these different money milestones and really investing milestones specifically encourages you to keep working on and focusing on your money goals. Like we said earlier, not nearly enough Canadians have TFSAs, let alone actually max them out. And we actually also read something else that said only about 1 to 2% of Canadians have maxed out TFSAs and RRSPs. Our goal is really to help bridge that education gap, not only to let people know that these accounts exist, but also to let people know that you are capable of growing your investing knowledge and hitting these money goals and milestones yourself. Your timeline might look different than ours or someone else's, but you are capable.
So now you know how we maxed out our TFSAs and FHSAs again this year and what our plans are moving forward. We'd love to know what investment account you're currently focused on investing inside of and how that process is going for you. So let us know down in the comment box below. With that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any other thoughts, make sure you let us know down below, and we'll see you next week with another video.